Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Leader Tree, where leadership grows and strong roots build stronger skills. I'm your host, Chris Miller, and on today's show, we're going to be highlighting some of those skills and exploring some very strong roots with this interview of the man, the legend, certainly not the myth. Please welcome Terry Wilson of TW3.
The infamous Terry Wilson.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Chris. Congratulations on your new show, man. It's awesome.
I'm jazzed. I got a lot going on in my brain about it, so.
Dude, I listened to the first episode, and I was like, I got to stop what I'm doing and pay attention to this guy, man. He's putting out some, value bombs.
Well, I hope so. I hope that other people catch on to it as well, you know. This is a great program that came to my mind. I thought about it for a long time because Mark had told me, hey, you got to get a radio show out there. And I heard you mention it, and I was like, I don't know what I'll talk about. This is what I settled on. You know, I said, this is something I think is necessary.
Absolutely. Well, leadership is so important. It doesn't matter what level of the pecking order you're in. If you want to go to the next level, it's going to be based on your leadership ability.
True. Well, let's just get right into it. I know we're quite limited on time. I've got some questions for you. I hope you've come prepared for anything because you never know where I'm going to take it.
I hope you at least ask the questions you gave me because I'm prepared for that.
Well, now, Terry, you know my story, right? You know how I got booted out of my job rather suddenly after the divorce. No warning. I found myself without an income, having to pop up some debt in order to stay afloat, trying to keep pushing forward for the sake of my family along that way. And it was in that desperation that I made the decision, you know what? I don't ever want to give anybody that power over me again to take away my income. I don't ever want to let anybody ever put me in that position. I never want to give anybody the ability to say, you can't earn what you want to earn. You can't be worth what you think you're worth. You can't have a job because I don't want you to have that job today. You know, you can't provide for your family because I don't want you. I don't want that for me. And that's when I decided to become an independent financial advisor. Because that's what I knew, right? You stick with what you know.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And it was a good decision for me, and it came with a lot of rewards. But that freedom to take the reins, so to speak, it comes with rewards, but it also comes with challenges and risk. And so I was wondering, for my first question to you, would you be willing to share with us how long you've been in business for yourself and what your experience with the concept of working for yourself has been?
Yeah. That was an interesting question because it made me think when you sent me the email with what the questions were going to be. And it made me self-reflect because I didn't think about this until you asked the question, man. But I've been working now for 30 years. Okay, I'm 45. I started working when I was 15, right? And so it's just going on 30 years. And I've only had 3 jobs where I worked for other people. And in that span of those 3 jobs, it was only about a year and a half. So I've been working literally for myself for 28 and a half years, in one capacity or the other. And I think I'm like the frog that was dumped in the water and they just turned the heat up and eventually, man, I'm cooked. I don't feel the hot water. Everybody talks about, oh, it must be so stressful and the pressure and all of this stuff. And I'm like, this is the waters I've been swimming in forever, man. You mean, so self-employment, entrepreneurialism, anything that you're there sort of like the guy or the girl, and naturally it's got some pros and cons to it. One of the things I try to encourage my people is when you're talking to people about entrepreneurialism, be positive, but don't be Pollyannish. I mean, give the full scope. There's high risk and high reward. And there's ways to mitigate that risk if you do it smartly. And we try our best, and I know you do, with the business that you're running and doing so well with. You try to get people to understand, okay, here's the risk and here's how we're going to mitigate that risk so that we can capitalize on all the reward here. And just, when we have something, it doesn't knock us off our saddle. So 28 years, I guess 28 and a half years being self-employed. I would say that the things I reflect back on is sort of that you've probably read his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki.
Right?
Yeah. He says, sometimes I win and sometimes I learn. That's a famous quote in that book. And I love what Stephen McCrane said. He says, the master has failed more times than the beginner has ever tried. And to be good, you have to master whatever it is you're going to be good at. If you want to make good money, quote unquote, if you want to make that, then you got to master something, right? And the only way to master it is, you have failed a lot, and you got to be okay with that. I don't know of too many people that have mastered their industry, mastered their position or whatever they're at, wherever they're at, whatever they're doing. It could be, look at Michael Jordan, gets cuts from the high school basketball. You've heard all of these stories. You can read behind every single person that's been successful in whatever it is they do. We're talking about the context of entrepreneurialism, but it could be anything. Well, behind that success story, inevitably, always and forever, is a story that's just laced with, oh man, this blew up my face. This happened. This happened. For me, it was, getting real excited because I wanted to buy this real nice car back in the day when I was in high school. And I just always had a chip on my shoulder because I came from a, rather modest, I won't say poor, because I don't want to be, poor mouthing, because my family was great people, good, solid earth people. But we weren't rich, and I would look around and I would see the doctor's kids and the lawyer's kids coming in with the newer cars and all this. And I was like, why don't I have? And so I got involved. A guy recruited me out of my first real job of working for someone and got me into sales, and I started that's how it all started, because I wanted a nice car. I'm one of those that, and mine wasn't, you're going to laugh. It wasn't a Corvette. It wasn't a Trans Am. It was an Eddie Bauer Ford Explorer back in.
Oh, okay.
I thought they were beautiful back in the day, and I wanted one. So this was like 91, and so I bought a 1990, a year old Eddie Bauer Ford Explorer. I bought it with my own money because no one's going to buy it for me. And so that's how it all started, and it did well until I didn't do well. 9/11 happened, and it hurt the business, and then we rebuilt and took off again. And then 2007, the second quarter of 2007 happened when we were tied so intimately with the housing market, and then the housing market decided to just implode. So, but outside of those two major, seismic, catastrophic things that I don't think you can control, because someone say, well, see there, Terry, if you would have had a quote unquote real job, you wouldn't have gone through that. Well, here's the other flip side of that story. Yeah, I lost my business in 2007. I did. I went bankrupt. I lost my house. Very painful time. But here's the thing that people don't pay attention to. Yeah, I lost all that, but guess who else lost? Those 22 people that were working for me that had the safe job. Because when a business fails, everybody fails. So if you're going to fail, then be the one that can rebuild it. Because I bounced back probably quicker than most did, because I knew what it was like to be in business. I knew what it was like to start something. I knew what I had all of those things. I just had to retool, refocus, and take off again. So don't ever let the fear of failure, stop you from, trying to do something, because
right.
The risk is there. Everybody has a risk. Everybody. There is no such thing as that safe space where you can't be triggered by life. Throw out some, new lingo. But you can go.
If you're gonna fail upward, right?
Fail upward. You work for someone, right? You had a safe job, and all of a sudden they pulled the plug and said, "No, not no more." And they didn't have an excuse. There was no economic shift, right? So if that's the case, if that's the reality that you live in, everything is a risk, then why not have the steering wheel? That's all I'm saying. Well,
I hear you. I don't know why people think that sales is not a real job. I mean, literally every single company in the world gets nowhere without sales, right? Sales is the realest job I've ever met.
It is the one profession that makes the entire economy turn. You're not wearing an article of clothing. You're not sitting in a chair. You're not in a house that people that were in the profession of sales weren't involved in.
Yeah. When I was selling Kirby's door to door, I mean, I was not even out of high school yet. I was making $78,000 a year. My mother was still telling me, you need a real job. You know what I'm saying?
It's a mindset, you know. My business law teacher in my junior year in high school was lecturing me on business practices and this and that, and how she was of the mindset, you go out, you get a college degree, and you get this job at a plant or a company or whatever. And she wasn't very friendly with me. She was a little more hostile. I don't think our personalities meshed well. And I finally, I says, if I'm not mistaken, based on what I see online from the North Carolina Board of Education, if you worked here 15 years, the most you could make right now is $47,000 a year. And I'm already making $80,000. So who should be teaching this class?
Well, there you go.
You know, of course, that didn't bode well. I was.
Anyway, let's move on. I know we're short on time. Moving on to question 2. I have certain traits that I think are important when it comes to being a leader. And they're also those traits that I look for in others that I work with. Because that way we do good work together, right?
Right.
One of them, you got to be organized, right? If you're not organized, I don't know what you're doing. You know, but neither do you. That's the problem, right? So, you know, I feel that as a leader, you got to be organized. You got to have integrity above all else. And one of the biggest things is that you need to be punctual, right? I mean, there's so many times people like say they set an appointment with me and then they're not there, you know, and they call me back 20 minutes later. Oh, sorry. I was doing whatever. Just show up on time. I don't know why it's so difficult. Those things are things that I think are important. I was wondering, as a business leader, would you give me your top 3 qualities that you think are most important to you for a leader to be successful, and provide me with some examples of those qualities and how they've served you in your business?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think everything you mentioned is to me a prerequisite that, you know, to even get in the game, that has to be handled. You know, you're not even in the game if you're not punctual, if you're not have integrity, you know, and you don't have those things operating already, you know, because, I mean, why would, you know, my grandfather instilled that, and I think you've probably heard me say it, and you probably heard other people say it, you know, the sole litmus test of a man's character was his punctuality. I mean, he wouldn't even talk. If you showed up late, he left. He wouldn't even have a meeting with you. You know, that was how he sort of instilled that in me. You know, so all of those things to me is just like elementary. You got to have that to even be in the conversation. I take things probably because of my religious background, a more philosophical look, if you will, in that, you know, I think that for me, the traits that I look for in leaders that I follow are, number one, leaders that have peace with themselves. They're at peace with it. In other words, they're secure. They're not these insecure people that if you come up with a good idea, all of a sudden they're threatened by it. And, you know, all of a sudden the organization can't grow because the only way it can grow is the top guy have the best idea. He's always got to win because he's always feeling like if Chris has a good idea, then that threatens, you know, my brand, my look, and all of a sudden people will start. So I'm always looking for leaders that, number one, are highly, highly secure in themselves, or what I call at peace with themselves, because they'll let you shine and let you expand and let you grow to the level you need to grow. But they'll also attract better leaders. You know, I think people that are secure, that are at peace with themselves, they will actually attract higher quality people as well. And number three, I think they will lessen the burden of leadership. Because when you're talking about leadership, you're talking about ultimately being responsible for the organization, the growth, the meeting, whatever you're leading. And responsibility can be burdensome at times, but a leader that's at peace with themselves, secure, all have those fundamentals already working in their life, they're punctual, they've got integrity, they got these things, then everything, it just runs smoother, because they're not coming from this position of, I've got to look the best in this meeting, I got to sound the smartest, I've got to be, you know what I'm saying, that, hey, it's me. They got this sort of take it or leave it attitude, not in a dismissive way, not in that kind of way, but just like, I know what I am, whether you do or not. That's how I like that in someone. So that's the number one. I would say that your 3 traits. I would say peace with yourself. Number 2, 100% authenticity. Okay, not trying to be someone else, not trying to I am who I am. I can't be anybody else, right? So I like that. And number 3, they got to have vision, especially in today's world with technology the way it is, and rapidly changing, and business changing. I mean, you've been in business long enough. I mean, think about how drastically different business is conducted today versus what it was when you were selling those Kirby vacuum cleaners. I mean, it's a different world, different mindset. Go knock on someone's door today. I mean, cold call. I mean, you can still do it, but the attitudes and the culture has changed. And so the approach has to change. And you don't have to work as hard either, because you can have things cold calling for you rather than you having to do the grunt work, which is nice. So my 3 things was, secure or peace with yourself, 100% authenticity, and having a great vision, to see what's around the curve, and sort of prognosticate a little bit and say, hey guys, this is where we're headed, this is what we're doing, and being able, to paint that vision. Because I think when you can paint a good vision, people get excited. And
I love it. That is perfect. That is a perfect answer. You frame it all up,
Well, I try.
And it is not lost on me that you threw a ding in there about me putting my bow tie back on.
I did not say anything about no bow tie. Hey, if you'll notice,
I look my best. But you put on a shirt now.
I went upstairs. Now I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt under this. I went upstairs and put a nice shirt on just for you. I said, I am not going to go on Chris's show.
What I like, though, is that you and we both do the same thing with our sleeves. I cannot cuff those things. I can't do it. I feel uncomfortable. I'll wear the bow tie all day long, but I'm trying to get people into bow ties, but I cannot button up the sleeve on my wrist.
It just makes me feel bad.
Well, me and Reagan's talked about it. Your theme song has got to be ZZ Top, Shark Dressed Man.
Oh, goodness. All right, let's move on to the next question. Okay, so there is a lot of new leaders that are going to be watching this show, and they come to see your show all the time and to listen to the great Terry Wilson expound, right?
Pontificate.
If you can give a young leader who is, starting off in the world, a kickstart, some advice to get them rolling down the right path from the beginning, so they don't step on their feet. They're going to eventually, but if you could push them in the right direction, give them some advice. What advice could you give them to be sure that they get it done the right way?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And used to, back when I was coming up, you sort of had to wrap yourself around a business and get excited about what that business does. In today's world, with the technology we have, with the websites and with all of various opportunities, you can have a business wrap around you rather than around the business. Yeah. What I mean with that, I wasn't that thrilled about insurance. I wasn't that thrilled about rainbow vacuum cleaners. I wasn't very thrilled about, I was thrilled in the fact I got to get up in front of people and talk. And I was thrilled about the fact that I was in sales and I could make money. Those things thrilled me, but the product itself, the industry itself, I take it or leave it, right? Today is not like that. You can, with today's advent of the way business is done, with the RMP type stuff that we do at TW3, and I'm sure that you teach your guys how to do, you can go out. And so my advice is find something that you're just incredibly passionate about, number one. And then number two, don't try to circumvent your success. Be intentional about being an expert about everything there is about that product, good, or service. I would say the reason I was successful in my all the business I was in, even the ones I wasn't thrilled about, is I studied like a madman. You know, when I was in cookware, I went and I understood why you needed 7-ply stainless steel versus 5-ply, and why the heating coil needed to be a certain way, and the dispersion of heat, and all of these just goofy things that you know that had to do with cooking and the cookware business and all. I got into it, I mean, elbow deep, because then it gave me authority. When I spoke, I knew what I was talking about. I approached, you know, when I was an early teenager, I got excited about religion and theology and those things. And so I would listen behind people that I agreed with, and I would listen behind people I disagreed with, and I'd have these just boring conversations with all of these professors of theology and stuff. But that's so translate that into the church world. People come in and will hear me speak when I'm doing a session on something in that world, because I don't come from one perspective. I say, here's what everybody says about this passage. Here's the different viewpoints on it. But I'm excited about it. You know what I'm saying? And not that I'm a know-it-all, and I'm not saying that at all, and I'm not saying I'm the smartest person. I am saying, though, I can carry my own weight. Okay. So if you're a new person getting into whatever entrepreneurial vein, find out what you're excited about, what you're passionate about. Be intentional about studying it and becoming as large of an expert as you can possibly be. I mean, know all the crazy nuances and the idiosyncrasies and all the details that eludes most people. Not that you're going to bore someone, but when someone asks you a question, you're not going to give just a cursory answer. You can not only answer the question, but you can say, and here's why it's that way. And then that just all of a sudden gives you all of this authority with it. And, you know, you leave the realm of being just the salesperson, and now you're a consultant. And now you're coming from a psychological standpoint with that client, that you're working alongside them, and you're sort of like an advocate for them to help them make the best decision. And the way you do that, and I'll wrap it up with this, is mentorship. Find someone that is in an industry or in business that can help you get hooked up with whatever business you want, that has already banged their knee a couple times. Learn from why make the same mistakes Chris Miller made or Terry Wilson made when you can learn from them? And that's one less mistake you're going to have to make in your journey to being successful. So mentor, the reason I'm here today, I can give you 7 guys, and I'm in a mastermind group, by the way, to this day, that some pretty famous online personalities that are in the business coaching space. And I pay, roughly around $1,000 a month to attend these masterminds, but it's invaluable. It is absolutely invaluable. And I was like, okay, he made that mistake last year in his business. I'll know not to bring that to my business and my membership, because why make the same mistake? And that goes back to being a visionary. In leadership, you got to be a visionary. So you got to get around people that are where you want to be,
right.
And be intentional about learning your craft and all of that. So that would be my advice to anyone just starting out.
It's funny you mentioned that a business used to be that you had to get into a business, and now businesses are trying to wrap themselves around you. And I read an article actually this morning, and I feel bad, but I already forgot who it was about. But it was about a pretty famous actress who I can't remember her name. But anyway, she was just telling that she lost a part and she won another part simply because of the number of Twitter followers that she had. There was an actress that was worse than her that got the part because they had more Twitter followers. And then there was an actress that was better than her a year ago that didn't get the part because she had more Twitter followers. Isn't that crazy?
Well, that just tells you the people that's in the decision-making process are very cognitive of the marketing of this product they're about to build.
Exactly.
That's what it tells you. Hey, we're going to get more eyes on this one because the person we're getting involved has more eyes on it. So yeah.
Yeah. And you were right on spot with that one. And the nice thing, what I like about your business, right, is that you're always right on the spot. It's a very multifaceted business you have. You are a mentor for young people to follow, old people like me, that don't know what we're doing. And you're like, don't worry, I'll show you, right? But then, you help entrepreneurs find their voice, which I think is great, like what you did with TW3 Radio. You're giving me a voice right now. You're helping us grow our businesses. Like I said, you help us by mentoring us as we go through our struggles, but you also innovate along the way to make sure everything stays fresh and new and nothing gets stale, right? I mean, I've read online reviewers that say things like, it's all old stuff. That's because they're morons, in my opinion, right? I mean, you're all constantly updating stuff and adding stuff, and it's just, I don't know where you find the time. I can't find the time to run my 2 companies, and you got all this going on. With all the talk out there about you, and about TW3 in general, right? What's the one thing you feel that in your business, people overlook and don't divulge enough attention to? What advice could you give them to work that out as well?
Yeah, I mean, that question was the one question on my piece of paper I left blank. You're asking me to exercise some self-awareness, and I try. I have my own perspective, of what I think is important. What would other people think is important? I don't, to be honest with you, I would say there's a couple things I see as a pattern, if you will, that that trips people up. Things that trip people up that, they just need to be cognitive of. Number one, yes, we sell software and we sell websites and we sell these systems. That's what we do. But that's a means to an end. It's not the end. Software technology, as you have just so eloquently, revealed, changes all the time. So we're not about widget sales. I've never wanted to be in widget sales, and I'm not going to be in widget sales. For instance, our voice broadcast dialer, or robo dialer for those in layman's terms, that thing has changed 5 times in the last 11 years. Why? Number one, technology's changed, but number two, more importantly, FCC laws and regulations have changed. And so we have had to stay current with that. So if a person was to get excited about this one tool, and it's a double-edged sword, Chris. What gets people excited is the things that they can understand. Mm-hmm. People can understand, hey, I record a message, I put it in this software and tell the system I want 1,000 calls to go out to this type of person, age, income, zip code. They get that. I mean, that cognitively is not difficult. What's difficult is the philosophy and the things behind it, because that worked today, but it might not work tomorrow, and so people get tripped up with the technology, just to be honest with you. And we use technology, but for instance, you probably got an email from me last week about how one of the systems that we've used since the inception of TW3, which is Ring Central, we're doing away with. To be honest with you, in full transparency, I hate to admit this, but I should have done away with that thing 2 years ago. It has not been serving us well for 2 years. But it was one of those things. I am just an old softy. I forget what psychologists call it, but it's when you have an emotional attachment to a memory, and then all of a sudden it blinds you to the reality of where you're at today. They illustrate, have you ever gone to a restaurant, heard of a song that came on the radio that reminds you of your prom or something like that? Well, some of these tools, I remember being broke, busted, disgusted, as I like to say, and having to rebuild my agency and rebuild my business, and Ring Central was one of those first tools. So it's got a soft spot in my heart, I was this whole for the last 2 years. We got to make this work. We got to make this work. We got to make this is Ring Central. We got to make this work. It don't work for what we do, because we have quote unquote a call center, but that's more of a business template and model. Yeah, our call center might not be a phone ringing anymore. It might be an email inbox that you're getting off of the traffic that you're driving. We used to drive calls. Now we drive clicks and we drive emails for you to call back in response or text back in response. It's the same strategy, but the tools have changed out. And I guess that's my, inartful way of trying to articulate. Don't get caught up in the individual components of how business is done, whether it be with TW3 or anything else. But the question was about TW3, because that's going to change. It will change because technology changes, better practices changes. You've got to change with it for it to be effective. And the way I'm able to, you was asking how to stay on, it's really easy. All I'm doing is I'm constantly doing my business. Oh, this don't work anymore. Well, what will? And I figure out what works, and then I pass it on to my members. That's all I'm doing. Okay, this tool's not as effective as it was 3 months ago. Well, what would be? And so I go back to the drawing board, figure it out, make sure it works for me and making money for me, and I go back to you guys. Okay, here's what I'm doing, guys, blah, 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 and I give you the step-by-step. It's just that's the model, and that's how it works. So I'm going to be doing business whether I had a membership or not, but why not go ahead and help, leverage the value I have of figuring things out? Why not leverage that and help others?
Right.
Well, I tell you what, this has been a cool interview. Thank you so much for taking the time, my friend.
Well, dude, I appreciate it. I'm honored that you would have me on, man. I thank you so much. And you're rocking and rolling. You're and I can't call you a rock star anymore. That in 2020, one of the resolutions my kids and wife made me say is I won't call people rock stars anymore. They said, you overuse that term, Dad. You're always, he's a rock star. So I got to come up with something else. But if it was 2019, if it was 2019, I'd say you're a rock star, Chris. But in 2020, you're just a man. I mean, you're making it happen, brother.
Well, hey, that is some powerful stuff. This whole interview. I know that all of the listeners out there, as they continue to filter toward us, they're going to love interviews like this. And the reason why I asked you that question is because I also wanted to show that one of the cool parts about your business is that it speaks to everyone. It's not just speaking to the people that are in your business. The answer that you gave me was about TW3, but it can relate to literally every single company out there in the world.
Absolutely, because principles they transcend the business. It's business principles that will work in any business, I think. Yeah,
and at the leader tree, that's what we're all about. So if you are out there listening to this show, or maybe you're reading the interview at our blog at theleadertree.com, and you would like more information about Terry and how you can get in touch with him, his information is going to be there at theleadertree.com website. Or you could tune into his podcast show on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at terrywilson3.com/live podcast. That's terrywilson3.com/live podcast. So check it out. Give a shout out to the Leader Tree. Let him know you saw and loved his interview here. And I'm sure he would appreciate that as well. Any final words of wisdom as we go, Terry?
No, man, it's awesome. And I look forward to seeing you at the conference in the next month or two. It was a pleasure to see you last year, and can't wait to catch up with you this coming year.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you all for joining us here at the Leader Tree. Bye-bye.